tool we call progress. There you go.
There you go.
And that. So in January, that was our last event. We actually wanted to schedule a appointment in March. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we could not because of Latino Unity Day. I don't know if folks were able to meet us in Springfield. Had a very successful day there. Talked about many issues. So all that's to say that this is our second Acuerdo meeting of 2022. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We did have questions. We had a survey, we had polls done in January. And so from that, kind of made this meeting possible, if you will. Right? We asked the question, if folks feel comfortable meeting in person, right? And so a large majority said yes. And so we took those results and kind of made this meeting happen, right? But we understand that we're still in the pandemic, and so we provided this hybrid option. And going forward, this is something that we hope we can do going, in future meetings. So, folks are visiting us from Central Illinois, down south, and so just providing that. But again, thank you so much for folks here in person. I will ask for a favor, 2 minutes of your time, if you will. For folks online, again, the link that was sent to you, if you click on the survey questions, can you spotlight the camera so we can see them?
What's that?
That was a quick thing. So yeah, I'll ignore that. Please, we're going along with things here. For folks online, click on the survey question link. It'll take you to four questions or four questions. For folks in person, if you scan the QR code, the right QR code, it's going to take you to a survey. A few questions there. We're going to take 2 minutes, if you will, to answer these questions, right? Let me see here. I'm gonna read them briefly. Please don't pay attention to me. Pay attention to the questions and answer them. So the first question is one of the.
Do they have the poll in the Zoom, or I have to post the link?
If you can post a link, sure, but they should have it in the agenda.
Oh, in the agenda.
It's
Perfect.
Number 4, 3 or 4. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So that should be available. So the first question that we're asking: what are the top 2 issues your organization is currently focusing on, working on? We want to know what folks are working on, right? I think one of the things that we really cherish our acuerdos is understanding what's being said and what is being worked on the ground, so that we can take that and have conversations about policy, about advocacy. And so if you all can answer that question, however you want to answer, please would appreciate that. The second question is, considering the issues that you answered, so those top 2, how can the forum support this, right? Outreach, conversations with leaders, elected officials, what have you, right? Please answer that question however you would like. The third is a scale, 1 to 5. 1 means not helpful, 5 means very helpful. How helpful have Acuerdo meetings been? And please be honest, right? We want to improve, we want to really tailor these meetings to you all. That's very critical to us. And then finally, last but not least, any feedback. Like, what can we do to provide a better experience? So I'm gonna give you a minute and a half because it took 30 seconds. My mom says I have the right one. I can never listen to her. Please, a minute and a half to answer those questions. I'm gonna. What? For those who are here in person, there's pupusas, coffee, pan dulce, happy Cinco de Mayo, by the way. I failed to mention that.
Roberto, if there is anyone especially in Zoom, because I can't send it right now, that don't, they can fill it out later, right? They can find it in the agenda later and do it.
If for whatever reason you do not want to, or you don't have time to fill out the survey.
Or you can't find the link, or you can't find the link right now. We have someone who can't find it.
Sure. The survey will be up. We're not ending it, so please feel free to revisit it and ask those questions when time permits. 30 seconds. All right, let's get started with our program today. A lot of very useful information, I think, that hopefully we can relay over to our communities, to our constituents. And of course, I want this to be interactive as much as possible. So the city of Chicago has really stepped up in regards to the pandemic. I think there's so many programs that have been offered to all of our communities. One being a pilot cash assistance program that the city is really spearhead. There are very few cities across the country that are doing this type of work. And I'm really, really excited that the forum, specifically our president and CEO, Sylvia Puente, was part of the advisory group who put together criteria, understanding what our communities need in regards to cash assistance. And so I am going to introduce 3 colleagues from the city to explain this pilot program, obviously giving resources and information, but also hopefully laying the ground on what this means for the city of Chicago going forward. So if you will, I will introduce Nancy, and apologies if I butcher this, How? She is the Chicago Recovery Plan Program Manager, Office of the Mayor. We have Alisa Rodriguez, Managing Deputy Commissioner, Chicago Department of Family and Support Services, and Mark Sanders, Deputy Commissioner, Chicago Family and Support Services. I will ask you three to, don't block the, they're good right here. So just stay in this realm. Please, welcome.
All right, thank you. Mark Sanders, Deputy Commissioner of Workforce and Human Services with the Department of Family and Support Services, joined by my colleagues Lisa and Nancy. We also have from the Spanish Coalition for Housing, Emilio. He told me his last name. Immediately forgot it on my way to the front. Carrasquillo. He's one of the outreach partners that we have for this project, and he was gracious enough to join us on this morning. So we do have a presentation, you're able to see it, but I'll be going through the slides on my paper. I have Lisa and Nancy to support me, and as I make mistakes, they will help me make any course corrections. So the cash resiliency, the Chicago Resilient Communities pilot is a critical investment that has been initiated by the mayor, as well as approved by the city council. And we can go to slide 3, which is where I'm, yes, right? Yes,
there we go.
Right. All right. So critical investment within the Chicago recovery. $31.5 million total has been allocated to this project. That's $30 million directly to households, 1.5 just to cover the cost of what it took to build out the application, and then also to support outreach delegate agencies to connect people to this opportunity. We secured $2 million, $1.9 million in private funding to evaluate this process. Ideally, we'll be able to capture these lessons learned. We'll talk about this later in the presentation, but leverage those learnings to identify ways that we can expand programs like this and improve the quality of life for our residents. And so one more detail, the pilot will provide 5,000 Chicago households with $500 per month for 12 months, and that's $6,000. As part of the evaluation, not exactly 1,000, maybe more, but there will be a control group just to compare outcomes for people that were participating in the pilot versus who was not in the pilot. Next slide. So what do we aim to achieve? First and foremost, we want to provide financial relief, mitigating economic hardships for low-income households who have been hard hit by COVID-19. We want to improve residents' well-being. We want to transform the city's human services. And so what we've learned over the last few months is that we can create and deliver impactful, inclusive, people-centered anti-poverty programs that build on this existing safety net. And so one of the things we wanted to demonstrate is that while it is difficult at times for people to get connected to the programs and services that we provide, we wanted to demonstrate that it is possible to do something like this very quickly and to make a significant impact in a very short amount of time. Finally, we wanted to build a field of practice. That's where the evaluation comes in. We want to enable policymakers and advocates across local, state, and federal levels to learn from our pilot, which is the largest program by reach in the United States. So there are other programs offering more dollars, but no one is doing it for the number of people that we're looking to serve. Eligibility criteria on the next slide. So we wanted to focus on Chicago residents who meet all of the following eligibility requirements. You must reside in the city of Chicago, must be 18 years of age or older, experience economic hardship related to COVID-19, and your household income level falls at or below 250% of the federal poverty line. So there's a chart right there. It's also easy to look up on our website. You just plug in the number of people in your household, and it will tell you what your household income would be to fit in, what it would need to be less than to be eligible for the pilot. Next slide. So one of the great things about this program, and this is due to a lot of hard work that was done by the group, is we will have no impact on the benefit. People who earn this or receive this funding, it will have no impact on their the CHA residency or voucher recipients, no impact on SNAP, TANF recipients, no impact on SSI or SSDI. Funds are not considered taxable by the IRS. And we also have a full list of benefits and potential impacts. So there are a few benefits that could be impacted by participating in this program. And so we made sure that we've outlined that clearly on the website, and people can make decisions whether or not they want to participate based on their situation. The application, online application, easy, from what we're hearing for the most part, pretty easy to go through, pretty easy to access if you have the internet, which is why we have our outreach partners available, because we do know that there are a lot of people that don't have internet access, don't have the devices needed to go through the process. But you can apply, access it from your phone or any device that's connected to the internet. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes if you have the documents ready. Language support in Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, Polish, and Filipino. And the ways, there's several ways to get help. And there's also a number of questions that people can go through just to get basic information about it regarding what you need to apply, whether or not benefits will be impacted, and where you can get in-person support as needed. Yes, and you can complete the whole application in Spanish. You can access all the FAQs in Spanish language and get additional support, and you can get support calling the hotline in Spanish language. So the application includes an assisted application option. And so there's a spectrum of opportunity to complete it. So again, people can do this independently, and several have completed the application on their own. However, there's also an option, and we do this through our partners with the Spanish Coalition for Housing, Centers for Changing Lives. They're participating as well. We have POITAC, and we also have the YWCA and United African Association. They're all making themselves available to provide in-person application assistance. And so what that looks like is you're walking through it with someone. You're able to, there's also an option to call and get help completing the application over the phone. Next slide. Preparing clients for this. If you decide to support participants, the best way to support them is to let them know what they need to get connected. And that's definitely reviewing the list of accepted documents to verify residency, to verify income, and then also to verify age and identity. There's an application, unfortunately it's only in English, to go through it just to review to see what you'll encounter while going through the application. And then also there's the household income calculator on our website just to learn whether or not you're eligible for the program based on. So a few of the documents that we will accept: driver's license, city key, ID with a current residence is preferred. If not, we can help you figure that out as well. Proof of participation in assistance program, tax or wage documents, those will also help and be accepted as a proof of income. COVID-19 impact, there's no documentation needed. However, there is a list of questions, including another section where you can just fill in what the impact of COVID was on the individual or the household. We do accept organizational attestations, and that's actually the preferred method. If a person does not have any of these documents, they can work with the organization to verify some of the things that they don't have documentation for. And so the research, study, and consent, that's another important aspect of it. It's not required to participate in the program. However, if you do choose to participate, that's also going to help us make the case for learning about this initiative, and then also expanding it if other funding is allocated to this type of project. So the University of Chicago Inclusive Economy Lab is conducting the independent research of the study. The purpose is to understand the impact of the pilot on residents and generate lessons for the city and other programs, elevating participants' experiences to help change the narrative around cash assistance. All applicants are invited, and as I mentioned, this is optional. There is no impact on the application status or the lottery. However, they have provided a few small incentives for participation. So anyone that participates, whether you're in the actual group or the control group, there will be some small compensation for participating. Few of the frequently asked questions. Household includes all family members who depend on the applicant to cover their expenses. Open to all Chicago residents, regardless of immigration status. This is not first come, first served. We're in the second week of the application. So anyone that goes through this process from now through May 13th at 11:59 p.m., we've adjusted it so that everyone has a fair shot, an equitable shot of getting included into the program. Assistance available through the hotline and in person. Some of our goals, again, while we're having this conversation and other the things that we've done leading up to today, we want to make sure that there's equity in the overall process and experience, starting with the community meetings. We try to be as inclusive as possible, getting input from a wide variety of sources, and then all the way through the application experience and the outreach teams. making sure that everyone that wants to apply has the support they need. Engage trusted community messengers and key stakeholders, educate and assist successful completion of applications, evaluate throughout to adjust outreach efforts and messaging. So for example, we're now reaching certain populations as deeply as we want, including Spanish language, Spanish speaking community. So again, part of this conversation is to asking you all for help connecting people to this opportunity. The YWCA is our lead outreach partner. They have several in-person sites. You can go to the website to find out where those are. Our community service center, Trina Davila, I don't know if it's, oh, yeah. A few is on North Avenue. I know that for sure, and it's a few blocks west. That's another place that people can go for in-person support. Several info sessions that we've created a recording. It has translations in a variety of languages. And so you can go to the YWCA to find out when the next one is happening. And that's for an individual, an organization that wants to support someone, or for an individual that wants to go through it themselves. There are in-person sites and events happening, a lot of them. So go to the website to find out more. There's a partner toolkit for organizations to actually download the information themselves and to support applicants as they come into their site and get any kind of help they would. Next slide. All right, ways that you can help. Host 1 to 2 application assistance events for your community by Friday the 13th. And so way to do that is to fill out the YWCA partner form. Circulate the announcement and flyers. We did not bring flyers with us, but if you sign up on that partner form, they'll make sure that we can email the assets in the appropriate language. Provide organizational attestations of eligibility to your community. And I think this is also very important. So we want to limit the number of self-attestations that people are providing, just so that we can verify, regardless of who's asking about this program. We want to ensure, whether it's the federal government or whether it's just a local stakeholder, that this process was fair and equitable. That means we verified that people lived in Chicago, they had the income, they met the income requirements, and they were above 18 and everything else that we're asking for. And so part of that is leveraging institutions and organizations to vouch for people when they don't have the documentation that they need themselves. So also, finally, preparing your staff to direct applications, to direct applicants to either the website or to an upcoming application assistance event. So, there's another. So those are ways that you all can help. Emilio, anything you want to add about that? Okay.
We had an event last Thursday at our office. Application assistance. We had so it's, it's people out there, they need it, they have the information, they just don't. So you just participate in help.
Yes, thank you. So,
My name is Emilio Carrasquillo. I'm a Spanish commercial.
and that's it. Thank you. Unless there are any questions.
So I'm Lisa Rodriguez from DFSS. I think what's really important about these forums and your engagement with the community is to make sure that we are outreaching to the folks that you work with and the organizations that you work with, that you've seen defined in the criteria that we've laid out, right? We want to make sure that there is an opportunity for everyone that fits the criteria to apply, right? And we're very intentional with vulnerable populations, right? We're looking and making sure that, for example, the homeless have just an equal opportunity, that those undocumented have an equal opportunity, that those living in poverty have an equal opportunity. So we've created this process to make sure that we outreach to folks. We are trying to look at the data as applications. And one of the things that we've noticed and why we're excited to be here today is that there's not enough applications coming from the Hispanic community, right? From the neighborhoods down there are specific neighborhoods that we want to be able to target. The Belmont Creative Area, South Columbia, Blackton Park, Gage Park, Humboldt Park, West Lawn, right? So if you all know of organizations or of individuals within those community areas, we ask for your support in getting them to one of the events, getting them to our website to learn more about the program, and overall to get them to apply, right? That is what we want to be able to do. We put in place various procedures and policies to ensure that there is that equity. And we know that these vulnerable populations sometimes, like Mark said, don't have the documentation to be able to apply. And that's where organizations like yourself, the nonprofit sector, come in to support these individuals. Because if you have a relationship with them, you can provide that attestation. But we're trying to do everything to make sure that we're uncovering every stone in Chicago so that we can get as many people to apply. Obviously, we understand that there's only 5,000 slots, right? But if folks don't apply, then their chances of getting into the lottery are slim to none. You have to be able to submit an application. And we rely on the community to support these vulnerable populations to do that. Thank you very much for all of what you do. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to our office. You could, go on the FAQ. There is a hotline that you can call as well to get information. And we have about another, 2 weeks to a week and a half, so time goes by fast. So we have a week and a half to really activate as a community and do everything possible to make sure that as many people that we know are out there that need this support, that they connect with us and submit an application. So thank you.
We have about 5 to 10 minutes as questions, Q&A for folks in person as well online. We'll start with Maria Pike. Thank you, Maria, for joining us. Did you say the undocumented homeless can apply for the assistance? We'll start there.
Yes. Undocumented residents can apply, homeless may apply. And this is just really where we kind of ask you all to provide that support. We understand that providing some of the documents around residency or ID may be more difficult for these populations, and that's where the org attestations really come in. So we'll make sure that the slides go back out to you afterwards, but the YWCA actually has a form where you can both let them know, hey, I'm going to host an application assistance event and we can, accept more members of the community if you want to help us publicize, but two, that they will provide you a template. So there's a template organizational letter that your staff will be able to fill out that essentially lets you check the box on, yes, this is a known client to our organization. They do live in Chicago. They do meet the income requirement, and that's something your organization can provide in lieu of them having to, find documents, or if they're in a cash economy, something like that. But those are ways that you can support.
Hi there. I'm Senator Daniel with the Latino Policy Forum. Do you know how or if this would affect a person in regards to the public charge, considering income maintenance?
Yeah, we have a response to this on our FAQ, so I just want to pull it up so I don't misquote it. But there is guidance that made us feel very confident about this. So let me just pull it up really quickly. Yes, I got it. Okay, Laura may be able to provide additional context. So if you are not a legal resident or your household is in a mixed status household, you are eligible. the application will not contain any questions regarding citizenship or immigration status. And according to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and we do have a link to this guidance, COVID-19 related benefits, including cash assistance, will not be used to determine whether or not an individual was or could become a public charge. And that is linked on our FAQ, so you can also review that guidance for considerations.
Hi, Rodrigo Carrillo with Illinois Housing Development Authority. We're operating similar programming, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of the things that really helped us out after deploying funds in the first round in 2020, we went on this "How did we do" tour. We heard back from the community that printing this on our media, on our flyers, that this is regardless of immigration status, and there is no public charge, gained confidence within communities, because we can stand here as officials representing government offices. There's a lack of trust within communities, but when they see it printed, it's more trusting. So I don't know if you have it on your flyers, but that really helped us gain those numbers in that population.
Thank you for sharing that.
Just wanted to share something really quickly. Nubia Woolman, who's the director of our Office for New Americans, with a weekly segment called Conversamos, where she brings Spanish language information to our community. She's been very clear in that weekly segment that this is open to undocumented community. Unfortunately, that program does not have a big reach, so we would love for organizations to help spread that message. I can send a direct link to that audio and recording if you all are interested. Oh, and Laura Padilla with the community engagement team.
Thank you, Laura. Just want to elevate a comment in the chat. Graciela Guzman, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate all the work that you're doing. I'll plus one that as best practice from healthcare expansion work with seniors, it needs to be explicit. So I think, to your point, Rodrigo, I think being straightforward is probably the best way forward. So maybe one more question, comment. ¿Estamos bien? Oh, okay, everyone was getting up. I don't know if you just about to give a speech. I'm like, okay. All right, of course, I'm sure any questions that come up post this meeting, folks can reach out. First, reach out to the mayor's office, the different agencies. So really appreciate that. Presentation was wonderful. We move forward, right? I think it's a wonderful program. Again, we'll reiterate the advocacy that the city has been doing, right, during the pandemic, and the state and different counties across the state of Illinois. So really appreciate that, and of course appreciate your partnership. So we'll move forward. We're actually ahead of time, which doesn't happen with a group of Latinos ever. I'm really nervous. I'm going to ask Edwin. That's why I think you stood up. Yeah, okay. I'm going to ask Edwin to please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Edwin Ortiz-Reyes. I'm the Civic Engagement Coordinator at the Policy Forum. I lead the forum's housing work and collaborate with all our community partners in regards to housing. Emilio, we will touch base after the meeting. But I'm here to introduce today Rodrigo Carrillo. Over the last 2 years, the forum has been collaborating with IDA to inform the community on all of the amazing, great work that IDA has been doing in regards to financial assistance and housing support for the Latino community in regards to the COVID pandemic. And in continuing those efforts and continuing to advance that community outreach, we have invited Rodrigo, the Director of Strategic Response for the Strategic Planning and Response Unit at IDA, to talk a little bit about the Homeowners Assistance Fund, which is open now and receiving applications. So, Rodrigo.
Buenos dias. Good morning.
Dias.
You'll forgive me. I've had 3 cups of coffee, so we're super chill right now. We're gonna bring this energy up.
Hey, nice shirt,
We
Rodrigo.
got money, so you gotta pay attention. But we have a presentation, right?
I don't.
Although I know it, just to like, not forget something. Can we thank the city of Chicago for that beautiful work? Our community needs it. Thank you so much for doing this. And so I'm here to talk about the Illinois Homeowners Assistance Fund, but I also want to brag a little bit. We've done some amazing work with the rental assistance. So I want to tell you a little bit about what we've done, what we're doing, and where we're headed in the next, few months. Right now, we do have the Illinois Homeowners Assistance Fund application open. The portal is still open through May 31st. We have received, I just got numbers today, you guys have, these are the numbers, 7,200 applications so far. We want 30,000. So there's still time for folks to apply. There's over $309 million to disperse for this program.
Not yet, Rodrigo.
Not yet. Okay, so
Can you talk a little bit about your shirt? Really springy.
we gotta bring the sunshine here. Yes. So let's talk about the Illinois Rental Payment Program. I know this. So what we have done thus far since 2020, we had to disperse quickly, like all of us. We were in uncertain times of over $300 million for mortgage assistance and rental assistance. So our executive director, Kristen Fox, was intentional about putting together a team that represented many different communities in all walks of life, and we were able to disperse over $300 million in less than 90 days. We were one of the only states in 2020 to disperse all the money, and we were top. So come January of 2021, we knew we were getting additional dollars through the ARPA funds. This time, we were getting $500 million for rental. So what we did was we created a department called Strategic Response that would really be intentional about making sure that these dollars get deployed, especially for those in need. We opened up our first round of Illinois Rental Payment Assistance back May 17th. Wow, almost a year ago. We saw the deployment of over $590 million by December 31st, 2021. So that money, 80% of that money went to households under 50% AMI.
Sorry for that. We're excited.
64% of that went to households under 30%. So those most vulnerable and in need were receiving the dollars. Come December of 2021, we released Illinois Rental Payment Program 2. In that, we have an additional $380 million to disperse. Currently, we said that we've dispersed as of yesterday about $85 million. So our fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th, like many of yours. I will say that in one fiscal year, I think we are going to disperse $1 billion in the state. Yes. Those in most need. And there we go. We got the presentation.
Next slide,
please. And sorry, we didn't get creative with the name. We were tired. We're like, no. All right, I'm going to do a quick plug then. Can we give it up to the new EDs here? Christina, the new ED up here in the Illinois House. Oh, Mario, the new ED of the Illinois Caucus Foundation. Yeah, share it alone. All right, next slide.
Thank you, sir.
We got this. I already talked about this slide and that slide. So what is HAF? HAF is part of the ARPA funds. And this is a program designed for those that are struggling to pay their mortgage. For the past 2 years, we have focused on rental. And now, during those 2 years, homeowners have been struggling to pay their mortgage. Next slide, please. We are giving up to $30,000 per applicant to pay their delinquent mortgage and any sort of back taxes that are due, homeowners association fees, and we're also paying mobile home lot rent. As we know, in central and downstate Illinois, I've been seeing this firsthand. That is one of the big housing criteria is for mobile homes is to pay their rent, and they're behind when they're losing their homes. We're also, so how is someone eligible? They have to be directly or indirectly impacted by COVID-19. We are not asking for proof. It is an attestation. You have to be minimum of 30 days behind on your mortgage. And the tricky thing is Treasury is looking at this as a sustainability to ensure that people can stay in their homes even after this assistance. So we're looking at a criteria of 42% of their mortgage payment to be less than 42% of the mortgage payment on their household income. What that means is that our organizations that are helping us will go through these cases and evaluate that. That doesn't mean you're going to get denied. It just means that this is one of the criteria. And the property requirements is for owner occupied 1 to 4 units all across the state. It's a generous AMI. Also, income limits are 150% of the area median income and below. And we're going to prioritize the 57 most impacted zip codes in the state. And we're going to prioritize those that are 100% AMI and below. Next slide. So how does this work? There's so many applications out there, right? So many programs for assistance. So we created a video on IllinoisHousingHelp.org in English and in Spanish that will guide you through this application process. It's going to talk to you about eligibility, all the requirements, the documentation, and it's going to tell you the steps on what to do for the application. That is becoming informed. This is not mandatory, but it's very helpful to know that. The next step is to explore your options. You will contact one of the agencies that we have in IllinoisHousingHelp.org, such as Spanish Coalition, such as the Resurrection Project, that will help you apply for a counseling agency. You need to have explored your options with loss mitigation. You either have a counseling agency by a HUD counseling agent, or you contact your lender, or you have a letter from legal aid that you've been seeking. You do not need this letter to apply, but you will need it to get approved. If you're wondering, well, how do I know where my counseling agency is? Well, on IllinoisHousingHelp.org, you type in your zip code, it will pop up the nearest agency that is available to you. Then, as of April 11th, we opened up our portal for the applications. And as I stated today, there are 7,200 applications currently. We're looking for more applications. There's a request of over $150 million. We're seeing a higher number of requests. And the portal will close at 11:59 on May 31st. Then we will do a follow-up just to see, is everything sustainable? Do you need additional resources? So we can remind you that one of the agencies can help you. Next slide, please. Next slide. And speaking of agencies, yeah, that was my segue. Agencies. So this is a critical partnership for us, right? All of you doing the hard work, meeting with the community, entrusting with communities. We have selected over 60 agencies that will help us with this program. They helped us spend nearly $1 billion with Illinois Rental. It's the way to do it. You can find an agency that will serve all 102 counties. 80% of the agencies serve Spanish-speaking communities. There are over 37 different languages, including American Sign Language. Next slide, please. And the key takeaways is if anybody remembers 2008 and the mortgage crisis there, these services are free. We're already starting to see people getting charged for the application. Make sure that we let our community members know these services are free. Just because you apply doesn't mean you're going to get the assistance. It is a prioritization. It is not a lottery. The approval process itself, for us to review the application will not take that long, but a servicer has to confirm the amount of money that we are going to pay, and that could take up to 6 weeks. Now, we were on a call with Treasury, and there were many servicers to say, we're going for 7 to 10 business days. We'll see, right? We haven't gotten to that point. IllinoisHousingHelp.org has everything. It has FAQs, it has videos, it has documentation requirements. And this program is available to all of those, regardless of immigration status. It is not a public charge benefit. It is on our print media as well. So we just really wanted to make sure that everybody is aware, because we all know someone or someone knows someone that is struggling, that there is help here. Next slide. We do have a call center and an email that we're addressing in real time. The call center is open from 8 to 7 through May 31st to address any questions regarding HAF. And then the email address is listed right there. Any questions, send us an email, we'll address that. There are several different languages spoken in the call center as well. And with that, concludes the presentation. I just really want to just summarize that IllinoisHousingHelp.org is the place to go for this assistance. There's also rentals. I'm going to do a plug for DHS. Someone let them know. There's also rental assistance still available with the Department of Human Services. If you go to IllinoisRentalAssistance.org, it will take you to an agency that still has funding for rental assistance. I will do another plug for us that we're also operating the court-based rental assistance program. So if someone happens to miss this amazing presentation of ILRBP and HAP, if they go to the eviction process, if they're in court, they're able to apply for rental assistance, and it's a faster review process. It's a separate review process addressing those who are currently in the court process. Cook County has a similar one. We operate every other county but Cook County because they have their own. So with that, any questions?
First round of applause. Thank you, Leo. I mean,
Your partnership has been for almost 2 years.
Questions, comments?
Yeah.
Adam, of course.
She always has a question.
Working with it.
Hi, everybody. Could you give a little more information on that requirement of having to contact a housing counseling, or legal aid?
Yeah, so the way this program is designed by Treasury is that it's viewed as a last resort. So Treasury would like applicants to contact their servicer to see what if any options are available. Sometimes they're able to do a forbearance or a modification based on their situation. So we need that to explore those options first. Give us a letter from the counseling agency or the servicer or a legal aid that they have done so. Hear what was offered, so we're able to provide.
Questions, comments?
Give a second. Let's see if it's online.
People must be going on the website. That's what it is.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yes, based on your zip code. Also, if you would like a media kit, please contact Edwin. We'll send you a media kit. You can disperse it to everybody. And this has social media posts. It has FAQs. It has everything you need to know about Illinois homeless assistance. I just really got that. And if you're doing an event, I take this show on the road. Like have us present. We're there to answer questions, and we would be happy to help. So we've done over 150 Facebook Live events with our legislative partners, with our community partners. So anything that you want us to do, let us know. We try.
I will say, very thankful for the General Assembly. More funds were appropriated to the rental assistance program with IDA, so this work will continue. And so if we can give Rodrigo a round of applause, I really appreciate his partnership and everything that you guys are doing at IDA. Wonderful. Let's see. ¿Dónde estamos? All right, we're a little ahead of schedule. I know that we have Senator Pastor Gonzalez scheduled to log in at 10:30. We're not at 10:30. She's not on. I'm assuming
She is not,
Okay.
but we can,
So for the next few minutes, if you will indulge me with any comments, anything that, I mean, you know, we try our best to try to put an agenda together that we think covers issues that are relevant to Chicago, the state of Illinois, obviously talking about things that are relevant throughout the country. But is there anything that folks want to bring up either online or here? I know that we have our amazing education team. Thank you. Anything education that I know that we're going to cover a few things towards the end of the program, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, I guess, leave this. The budget, okay, okay.
when do we do the updates now?
When do the updates now and then?
Just so we give some time
Okay,
to Senator.
are you okay with that, Eric? I'm gonna introduce Erica Mendez, and if you don't know Erica, you should. She's an amazing colleague. I'm very fortunate to work with her. We've been working together for almost 5 years. And, you know, Eric and the education team at the forum are really spearheading a lot of innovative things. And I use the term things very loosely because I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I will give the microphone to Erica and she'll give an education update. Round of applause.
Erika Mendez is the Associate Director of Education at the Forum. I know we have a lot on the agenda today, and there's a lot action-packed happening in early childhood, so I'll be brief. And I'll also put in a plug that we'll be doing a deep dive in early childhood on May 19th. That'll be a part of, I think that'll be me. So first and foremost, just wanted to give a brief update on some of the budget items that were passed this session related to early childhood as advocates, coming off of a strong commitment from the governor to invest in early childhood. We had an aggressive ask of 10% across all early childhood programs, and there's a bunch: childcare, preschool through the early child block grant prevention initiatives, and two really big DHS line items that fund our home visiting programs, Healthy Families Illinois and Parents Too Soon recently renamed the maternal and child home visiting services through DHS. What we saw was a strong commitment early on to invest in our preschool program. I think that's coming off of commitment nationally to really look at universal preschool as a model. Something else that was really beneficial to us was that there was a commitment of $1 million to IDHS home visiting programs. And I think at the last hour, we were able to get that $1 million divided up into the 2 home visiting programs that the state has. Initially, they were only going to invest the $1 million in one. So we were able to work with our General Assembly members. A big shout out to Leader Hernandez and Senator Cristina Gonzalez, who really led some of those negotiations to make sure we had equal distribution of some of that additional funding to some of our programs. What we'll also see is that there was a $7 million investment for early intervention. That's for children who are experiencing developmental delays. That was originally restored last year's $7 million cut to DRF and restoring it to normal funding levels, which is good. There's a rate increase in that $7 million, so we're excited to see how some of that funding is implemented.
Another really big win, also led by Senator Bastian is the 2.5 million in seed money for the child savings account, which provides seed money for children to have a college account by the time that they're older, and hopefully encourage parents to begin investing in some of that account for long. I think the sadder, child care assistance program is flat funded. I think a lot of legislators saw the $41 million ask for child care as a steep climb, given they've invested quite a bit in federal relief in this last year. And so we're sad that we didn't get the investment, but looking forward to next year to really boost up that advocacy. Now, a few other state level updates. There's a lot of restructuring happening in early childhood. So we really are looking for the Early Learning Council for some of the updates that are happening in terms of restructuring that hub that makes decision making and restructuring what the agency might look like, overseeing some of these services. There's 2 meetings coming up. The next one, that's going to be the full Early Learning Council, is May 23rd. I would encourage all of our partners invested in early childhood to attend that meeting for some of the state level updates. Now, in terms of city level updates, for 2, there's a universal preschool expansion announcement that was made for 4-year-old slots. But we've also heard that there is major transition in city leadership for early childhood. So we've invited the city board, National Acuerdo Meeting on the 19th, to come talk through some of those transitions and their plans for preschool. We encourage members of our ECE Acuerdo to send me directly an email with questions that they might have in advance of that meeting, and we can send that along to our partner, Julie Burnett, who's coming to speak on behalf of the department. I will leave my email with Roberto and Jose to send in a follow-up, just in case anyone else wants to reach out about some of these updates, or if you want to send some of the questions directly. I wanted to be quick. I know we have a lot to get through the agenda. I'm happy to stay after if there are questions.
Any questions, comments? It's pretty amazing, right? Running budget. Wonderful. I think we're still waiting for the senator to log in, which is fine. We will kind of move up our updates and then do that, and then hopefully we'll have the senator log in sooner rather than later. I'm going to ask Edwin to talk about our housing updates. I know there's some exciting work happening, so Edwin, please.
Thank you, Roberto. You get to see me again twice in one day. Lucky you. Really jealous. But yeah, like Roberto said, there's some updates on what's going on in our housing world. You kind of stole my thunder. I was going to talk a little bit about the additional funding to the rental programs that the state has allocated. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you, Roberto. Also wanted to let folks know that the forum has been selected to be a part of the evaluation committee for the Chicago Low Income Housing Trust Fund Special Housing Initiatives. So if you or any of the folks that you have served have tried to access housing through the trust fund special initiatives, or have accessed housing through the forum special initiative, or through the trust fund special initiatives, and have had any issues with the program, any comments and any information that you can give us about how that process was, and any experience that you've had with the trust fund, that would be great. We want to have as much knowledge as we can going into this evaluation process, so we can offer concrete solutions to address any issues. Lastly, I want to plug, again, we plugged a lot. If you're not aware of it by now, I really don't know what to tell you. The Immigrant Housing Rights for Immigrant Tenants Handbook is out now. It has been out since March. It is available on the forum's website, and in front of you, for those who are here in person, you will see a QR code that you can scan that will take you right to the resource book. It is available in both English and Spanish, and as I said, you can find it on our website, latinopolicyforum.org. It should be right there on the banner when you open it. You should also be seeing it on your screen. It is available in English and Spanish.
And soon, we will let you know when specifically, but soon it will be available in print as well. We will be distributing it to community partners across the state. So if folks would rather have a print copy that they can take home, that they can read through, please be on the lookout and we will let you know when those are available. That's all I got right now. Thank you all for being here. Sarah, I'm going to ask you to give immigration updates. We still don't have the senator.
I'm here.
Oh, she is. Where?
Sorry, Senator.
See if I see her.
So as Jose is,
There we go.
yes. Wonderful. I will introduce Senator Christina Zayas and brag a bit if I'm able to. She is a Forum alum, Director of Education back in the day, but really a leader in the community and a wonderful person. She understands the community, she understands policy. There's so much fire in the senator that it's really great to have someone in the General Assembly that's really speaking on behalf of the community. So I could go on and on, but I will hand it over to Senator, please, to give a update on the recent budget and legislative victories, specifically to the Latino community. Senator.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me and also accommodating me virtually, because, now that we're in this pandemic, turning the corner or whatever, you try to pack into so many things. And so I'm glad I was able to squeeze in. So I'll get right to budget. A lot of good things to talk about. And I'll try to cover kind of them in chunks and think about them. I know with the way that the forum structures kind of the work. So generally speaking, you probably heard about the expansion of the Earned Income Tax Credit. It's a permanent expansion. It now includes additional groups that previously had not been included. It is 18 to 24-year-olds can now claim an EITC. The 65 and older group can do that as well. And then, of course, filers that use ITINs. It is refundable. And like I said, it's permanent. This is a huge win. This is primarily, like when we were talking about all the different tax credits, this is what I was putting all my weight behind, because I think it's just, it's meaningful for the folks that are going to be able to access it. There are some additional tax credits that you may have heard of. One particularly that I think, again, will be meaningful for our community is there's going to be a tax holiday for school supplies and back to school clothes. Now, from August 9th through the 14th, if I'm not mistaken, or no, August 5th, I'm sorry, August 5th through August 14th. So you won't have to pay taxes on any school supplies or back to school clothes. Again, I think that's huge. There are, there's talk about, I have to talk about it. I'm not really pleased with it. I think we could have done a heck of a lot more. But for households that, either single filers up to $200,000 and joint filers up to $400,000, every individual will get $50 return. And then if you have dependents, you can get $100 per dependent up to 3 dependents. So, that's one thing. I believe that those returns are going to be coming sometime in the fall, if you filed your taxes. The other is there is a tax holiday with at the gas pump from July through December. So the couple cents per gallon will not be charged. And then also the same with your grocery receipts. So there will not be sales tax on groceries for July through December. So that kind of rounds out and then there's a $300 refund for property tax owners, up to $300, depending. I think the threshold is like if you pay $6,000 or more, you get $300 in return. So I mean, there's some cash coming. I'm not trying to diminish it, but I just, I was really saying I think we needed to bring those household incomes down. I just, I think about households making $400,000. They're not looking for $400. But households that are making 50, 75,000, could definitely benefit from a larger return. But that's neither here nor there. It's a start. It'll only be for this year. The EITC, which is what I said is the most important, that's permanent. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to cover some education investments. The major news there, obviously in the early childhood space, we were pleased to be able to increase the early childhood Black grant by 10%. So there's $54 million going into that, where I'm going to need some help with you all. I was just strategizing with some colleagues today. We really need to push how that money needs to go towards compensation. We know that, folks in the early childhood space are woefully underpaid, oftentimes accessing public assistance. And it's not to diminish that there are parts of our state that could have an increase in seats. But what I'm hearing from different parts of the state, they're struggling to fill, early childhood seats, and they're struggling to retain the workforce. And so for me, I really think it would be important that we invest funds into the compensation piece so we can get specifically in our community-based organizations, because if you're working in a school-based setting, you likely have a much better package in terms of financial stability. So that's one. The second area in early childhood is early intervention. These are therapeutic interventions for infants and toddlers ages 0 to 3. And so last year there was a cut of $7 million. So we restored that cut this year. Again, want to have a conversation with DHS, and your help could definitely be used to push for why we need to direct those funds towards compensation, particularly our therapists. It's been ages since they've received an increase in wages, and they're particularly struggling with staffing. And we know, obviously, for the Latino community, how important it is to have therapists that are culturally and linguistically responsive. Home visiting, there was a little over $1 million allocated to the 2 home visiting programs that DHS manages, Parents Too Soon. I think it's a new name now. And the nurse family practitioner home visiting program. So both of them got like somewhere in the 800,000 range each. So all of that, is good in that we didn't, have any flat funding. We didn't have any cuts. And so I think it's going to just be really important to continue to push that those funds be directed towards compensation. And I'm hearing that on the home visiting tip that those increases are going to be going towards compensation in the NOFO written in, and having a floor for salaries. On the K-12 space, we appropriated $460 million to the evidence-based funding formula. That's more than our typical 350, and you all may have heard is because due to a calculation error, CPS has been receiving more funds than what they should be over the past 4 years. There was a subpopulation of students that were being overcounted. Therefore, it made it look like CPS was supposed to get more money. They didn't know. They verified it, but folks didn't know really. And so now that has been uncovered as a result of the professional review panel doing some analysis. And then that they uncovered this error. So $87 million CPS has to pay back. I'm told that, the state is being very flexible with them, that they can pay it back over time so that they're not feeling, this hurt and this cut. But there's going to be some school districts that actually get some significant money from anywhere in the range of $10 to $5 million. I don't know which school districts. I do have a breakdown of like how many school districts fall in each category of a band of funding. So anyways, the headline though there is the $350 million increasing in the evidence-based funding formula means that, you know, we are still on par. We should be doing more because we're not going to get to adequacy by 2027. So we've got to have some conversations about that. The other piece is with higher education, $122 million increase in the MAP grants. This now means that basically any student that is income eligible for a MAP grant will now be able to receive one. There will no longer have to be a need for a wait list. The highest amount you can get is $8,500 annually, which is about half of the amount of the cost of tuition for a public university. And, you know, I'm trying to think how many, I think it's like 24,000 more individuals. I got to look that one up. I can't remember off the top. The Minority Teaching Initiative got an increase of, it went from, I think it was what, 2.1 or 2.3 million, now it's 4.2. So super excited about that. What that means is that individuals from, you know, historically underrepresented groups like Black, Latino, males, bilingual folks now have up to, I think it's like $7,500 that they could access in funding if they're pursuing a professional educator license. Stay tuned because like with that increase, obviously is great. For the most part, that when it was 2.3 million, I think they had like about 1.9 million in uptake. So they're going to need to do some marketing. We're going to have to do our part to make sure that folks know about it. So that we don't leave any kind of money on the table and have any justification to bring that money down. In fact, one of the things I want to work on looking ahead is like, how can those funds go towards wage loss for when folks are student teaching? We know that that is usually a challenge for a lot of our folks that are pursuing a professional educator license, is basically to go without pay. I mean, technically, they can get paid by the school district. They can get paid by the university. We do have protections in the law for that, but nobody is directing where that money should come from. I'm thinking it should come from the Minority Teaching Initiative minimally. We do have some precedent with my Early Childhood Higher Education Consortium bill and how that's flowing, and the scholarships there cover everything. So that's something important to note. So that's on the, and then the other thing, really excited about this, I carried the bill on the child savings accounts. And this was, child savings accounts were established about 4 years ago, but there was no funding. So, you know, we worked on, I made some kind of like substantive changes in terms of data collection, making sure that we are monitoring who's actually applying for these accounts, and then having disaggregated data by race, ethnicity, language, socioeconomic status, so on and so forth, so that we can better target marketing. We also made a provision for, should there be additional funds, that there be a formula for, or there be prioritization of bonus deposits in these child savings accounts for financially insecure families. But the big news is we were able to secure $2.5 million for seed deposits in these accounts. So starting January 1, 2023, $50 will be available as a seed deposit for every single newborn in Illinois. So again, going to need some help with getting that word out. You know, the research has shown that when you open up a child savings account, you know, it obviously creates awareness, and it creates an opportunity to build resources for that child to then be able to access when they turn 18, if they go to a 2-year, a 4-year apprenticeship or trade. It's educational expenses, basically. So really excited about that. The next piece is, I'm just thrilled about this. $25 million the Latino Caucus was able to secure for violence prevention, specifically to go towards Latino serving organizations. This was a really big push on our end because we were, just kind of looking at past investments and really seeing a huge disparity in terms of, where money was going and in terms of, legislative districts that have higher concentrations of Latinos. So ICEJA is going to be administering those grants. They are direct line items to organizations that have been doing work. Members had, weighed in on what those organizations would be based on our contact with constituents and stakeholders. And so that's for fiscal year 2023, July 1. Wanting to, and what's great about direct line items is that, obviously it's a different process. You don't have to go through all kinds of hoops. I mean, obviously you still have to be GATA approved. You have to have a plan of action, but I'm really thrilled, particularly the area that I represent on the Northwest side of that 25 million, a little over 8 million is going to be coming here, which is like huge because according to the data I was looking at, we had less than 500,000 invested in our area over 5 years. So this is going to be radically different. The other thing is that we worked with DHS with the Reimagining Public Safety Act to advocate for the identification of additional communities that could apply for the notice of funding for investments in violence prevention and investments in youth development. And so that notice of funding just came out on May 2nd. It's a rolling application, so there's no closing. Each community identified, and we were able to get a north cluster that has pretty much all of the northwest side of Chicago communities and a south cluster that has a good portion of the southwest side communities identified. And in those clusters, there will be up to 6 grants for up to 600,000 with violence prevention over 2 years, and up to 8 grants for up to 400,000 in youth development. So theoretically, you're looking at, I think it's like about 3.2, 3.6. Again, in each of those clusters that could be, invested in those community areas. With respect to housing, $150 million of ARPA was, appropriated for affordable housing units. You all may recall that housing omnibus, the affordable housing omnibus, to create more affordable housing units, tax credits towards that. But we also are in conversations with IDA about, of that 150 million, how to direct it, some towards these tax credits, some towards, there's some really discrete projects that came from the community around community land trusts, around right to counsel. In fact, in 10 minutes, I'm about to have a conversation with DHS about that. So, for folks who are experiencing eviction proceedings but don't have legal representation, subsidizing that. Incentives for landlords to provide sustainable housing for folks who are returning, from the Department of Corrections. So there's still some stuff to kind of work out. We made sure that there was some legislative intent on the floor to say, okay, yes, these funds can go towards, these tax credits for affordable housing units, but we also want to make sure that we are, investing in some of these ideas, like community land trusts, like the state designated cultural districts, that bill that we passed that has a housing component to it. So all of that good stuff. I think, in terms of You probably saw that there was increases in wages for folks who are working in community-based programs with folks with developmental disabilities. There's an increase in wages for folks working with older adults and assisted care. And I feel like I'm missing one more. I can't remember right now. I'm gonna stop because it's 10:51. And I want to make sure that if folks have questions, I didn't even talk about all the investments in immigrant services, as you know, like such as the welcoming centers, such as the immigrant services lines. We were able to maintain funding investments. They're obviously not as high as what we did in that first round of ARPA, but there is still some opportunity there again to continue those discussions and make sure that the pressure is there to continue the investments. So I'm going to stop right now so that if there's any questions or comments, maybe we can spend the rest of the time going through that.
Thank you, Senator. I'm amazed at all the details that you can remember. It's amazing how you laid this out, right? I mean, all of us were kind of in awe, if you will. So thank you for that update. We appreciate it. Any questions online, here in person? There's a lot. Very thankful for the General Assembly, but specifically the Latino Caucus for the work that they did, especially in what, a 3-month period, Senator? It was
The what?
It was a 3-month period, right? A shortened session.
Yeah.
It's amazing, all of these victories in about 3 months. So any questions, comments, anything, please. I guess not. Senator, if folks wanna, any events, anything coming up that you wanna kind of plug in, I know that you're doing a lot of community work at this moment, so anything you wanna let folks know about?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in the district office tomorrow, every month we are hosting free legal aid. This month is family legal aid. So any type of legal issues and concerns that would typically be managed through family court, you can access that. And so what I'll do is in the chat, I'll put my website up because it's listed there, and there's a phone number for you it's by appointment, because obviously we want to make sure that folks have privacy, and we also want to make sure that the legal aid that can be offered is obviously appropriate. And so I just wanted to make sure folks do that. I mean, each month, like I said, we're going to focus on a different aspect of legal aid. So 1 month we'll do immigration, 1 month we'll do criminal legal system. So just wanted to make sure folks know about that. I think the other thing, to be on the lookout for, obviously you all witnessed what everybody was witnessing from the leak of the SCOTUS, potential final opinion on Roe versus Wade. There's a lot of organizing around. I mean, obviously Illinois is in a good position because we put a lot of protections in on reproductive rights and health. And so we've been just really trying to make sure that folks know that we're still okay within the state of Illinois, but we are about to be an island should this SCOTUS opinion be the final majority opinion. And how important it will be that we're able to support folks who may be coming to Illinois to ensure that they can have a safe abortion. So there's going to be a lot of resources and supports. That was the other thing too. I think a big headline in the budget: $50 million increase for domestic violence. They were, advocates were, I think, only asking for like 20 million, but we were able to obviously go well above and beyond, as we know that this is an issue that has been exacerbated through the pandemic. And obviously that we know, is one of the root causes of violence, right? So We want to make sure that folks know about that. That's going to be RFP'd out, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of the organizations that, you know, Mujeres Latinas en Acción is a huge, agent of this type of work. And I've been working with them because they obviously, their services now extend to Belmont Cragen, which is fabulous. But anyways, I'll stop right there. But I just think, you know, it's going to be really important. You may have caught, we did a Spanish language press conference right after the governor's press conference on Tuesday, because we thought it was really important that our community hear from us directly in Spanish about the news of this and how we can support and how we can make sure that, you know, folks know in Illinois we're okay, but we may be having an influx of people trying to make sure that their reproductive rights are protected.
Absolutely. No, if we can give the senator a round of applause. Senator, you will follow up with that. Really appreciate your time and take care of yourself.
Awesome. And thank you for Vanessa for putting that information on there. I appreciate that. Everyone, take care. Can't wait to see you all in person soon. Oh, can I just give a plug really quick? I think folks should know. The Illinois Latino Legislative Caucus Foundation now has an executive director, Osvaldo Alvarez.
He's here with us.
Excellent. I want to make sure that folks know we are just thrilled and excited. November 18th is going to be the conference. So save the date on that tip. We're just shoring up some details before we get out information. But I just am really thrilled to bring Osvaldo on. I'm sure a lot of you know who he is and the fabulous work that he's doing. This is big. We've never had an executive director. So he's going to help us usher in the new kind of iteration of the Latino Caucus Foundation. And I'm just really excited about it.
Is it fair to say that your first meeting as in this position was at the Acuerdo Meeting? Is that fair to say? Ish? Yes, we'll say yes. We'll go with yes. Senator, thank you again. Abrazos.
Awesome. I'll see you all later. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, we have one final update. I'm going to ask Javi from Illinois News to give us a COVID update. We still are in a pandemic. I don't know if you all have read the news, but we're still trying to navigate this pandemic, and obviously it fluctuates, right? Things are evolving as day to day. So I'm going to ask Javi to give an update, and then after that, I mean, end of meeting when we can chat and go from there. Javi.
Everyone. So I linked some of the updates in the agenda.
No, it doesn't seem.
Yes.
Thank you. So generally some COVID data overview. I linked some of the latest data from the city and then also the county. Some news for pediatric vaccinations. Last week, Moderna applied to the FDA to authorize vaccine for children under 6, which is really important. And we expect a decision in June. COVID cases are still continuing to rise across Illinois and the US. Please keep in mind, though, that the actual numbers is likely a little bit higher, given the increase of at-home testing, which is not reported typically. Hospitalizations are up 16% since mid-April across the US. It is milder, but for our community, it impacts entire families, given multi-generational living. A big key item I wanted to bring up is a recent event that we had with city. CDPH invited us to be part of this event on new data that was released on the life expectancy in Chicago. So we know that life expectancy from 2019 to 2020 decreased about 2 years for all folks, which makes sense. For Latinos, though, that had the steepest decline in life expectancy. So we had the highest of 3 years. It's at an 8.6% loss in life expectancy between 2012 and 2022. Chicago Latinx residents saw more than a 3-year drop in life expectancy during the years of the pandemic. The steepest incline for any group, and we've lost a total of 7 years of life expectancy since 2012. Keep in mind though, during 2019 to 2020, COVID was actually only the second cause of death right after chronic disease. So that's actually another thing that we should keep on our radar. I think Latinos had the highest of missed medical appointments, and we also had the highest in income loss, if I'm remembering that correctly. For Latino vax rate, it's dropping. It's lowest in 18 to 29-year-olds. We remain consistent with our messaging of 3 doses. So 2 doses and the 3rd booster should be considered a complete series. And then some upcoming events that we have. We're going to be at the Bilingual Parent Summit this Saturday. Next Friday, we're going to have celebrate our 2nd year anniversary with 2 events, one that's more for press and the other one that is to celebrate the Promotores de Salud. We're going to be at Instituto Health Sciences Career Academy. And then just some other resources in case you missed it since last we spoke. There's been a lot of good media and attention on Latinos from primarily Illinois Unidos. So if you didn't read the AMA Journal of Ethics article on the Latino invisibility during the pandemic, it's available in English and Spanish. And then April 12th was proclaimed as Community Health Worker Day in Chicago. So really big news. So now April 12th is also the day, the official start day of Illinois Unidos. So now April 12th, 2022 is considered Community Health Worker Day in Chicago. And that was all the
Thank you, honey. That's the end of the Acuerdo meeting. I really appreciate everyone online for sticking with us. Obviously, people, folks, yes.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to announce very fast that DHS is right now searching for I believe the bureau chief for the welcoming centers. I believe the posting is going to be open until May 11th, so there's only 1 week. I just wanted to announce that here. So if you know of anyone, please refer them to the DHS at the state's website. This is a very important Latino position for the state of Illinois. So please, yeah, if you don't mind maybe looking into it and passing it out.
Thank you, Oswald. That's important. One final announcement. Folks may have connected with our current communications manager, Stephen Arroyo. He has an announcement.
Hi, everybody. Stephen Arroyo, I'm the head of communications at Forum. As of today and tomorrow, I'm starting a new role at WBEZ as a community engagement producer. And part of my role will be connecting with community leaders and organizations, conducting outreach to inform educational sessions and workshops that we're going to produce as part of a brand new community engagement department at WBEZ, the Chicago Public Media. So it's been a very, very wonderful 3 years at the Forum. I want to thank you all for your collaboration. And I also want to drop in the chat in 1 second my new email address, because I'd like to hear from all of you. I encourage you to reach out. At the very least, update your contact info, because my email address won't be valid for a couple of days. And you can reach out. You can reach out to my colleagues as well, and I'll ask them to include the email and the follow-up email as well. So please, I would love to hear from you, and thank you for your collaboration, and hope that we speak soon.
Okay, I promise you that is it. Yeah, and time. Thank you all. We will follow up with links and resources. Un abrazo. Happy 5 de Mayo. For the people, for folks who are here in person, there's a lot of food and coffee. Un abrazo. Thank you.